Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round interview show. Today we are joined by, a man that dominated both shores of rugby league, dominated the Aussies, a man that put fear into every single opponent he faced, including myself, Adrian Morley. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, Jammer.
Mate, it's great to see you here. After all these years, it is a little bit funny that you can turn up in Bondi and people are going, "What are you doing here?"
No, it's...
And not in the front, they're happy to see you.
I knew we'd get a few office quotes in there, Jammer, but no, it's always good to come back. I had six fantastic seasons here. But yeah, it's just still nice to be remembered. So it's... I've had a few nice chats with a few Roosters fans and a few South fans as well. So no, it's great, and I forget how big the sport is over here in Australia. It's absolutely massive. So yeah, it's been great to be back, and still got a week and a half left. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my holiday.
So what is it you are here? Holiday, working, holiday, or a bit of a combination of both?
Bit of a combination, but mainly holiday. So the kids get 2 weeks off Easter, so we've let them have another week and a half off either side of that. So we've not been here as a family since the World Cup in 2017 when you were playing, Jammer. So the wife, I lived here 6 years. She was here for 3, so she's got her own network of friends over here. So the kids loving it, but also I am doing a little bit of work. So I've just took up a role with Rugby League Cares, which is the official charity of Rugby League over in the UK. It's a bit like the family of league over here. So I started that role in January. They do some fantastic work in the community, mainly for Rugby League family. But one of my roles is being the point of contact for all the English players who are playing overseas, so South of France and the NRL. So I've been getting around the English lads, the out of state guys. I've just been on the phone to them, but it's been great, you know, just catching up with them guys, getting to know their their story and just what their position is, and you know, if they've got families, etc., and you know, how they are contractually and things like that, and if they've got any issues, and they've all been really looked after by the clubs, which is great. But it's a role I've been enjoying.
It's great to hear, Moz, because obviously, you know, over here in the NRL, they've got retirement funds for the players. You know, a whole heap of initiatives to help former players. But in England, it's probably a little bit different, and the game as a whole is very different in terms of the financial revenue streams that they probably don't have. This is an afterthought, and it's important charities like Rugby League Cares exist, because in those time of crisis, that especially the former players, they don't really have anywhere to turn to.
You're right, and you know, money is an issue. Everyone could do with a bit more money over in the UK, rugby league wise. But you've mentioned the transition period, so there's a couple of dedicated lads at Rugby League Cares who identify lads who are coming to the end of their careers, and they go out and see them, you know, see if they've got any qualifications, or you know, ask them what they would like to do. And there's a lot of help out there. There's more help now with players retiring than there ever has been, which is great. It could be better, but it's great. So and also you know, lads earlier and earlier, you know, you don't want to look at lads who are 26, 27, which that was the case in the past. They're getting lads now who, you know, 20-year-old who have still got the full careers ahead of him. However, they've been thinking about post playing, because you know, the career don't last forever, as you know, Jammer. So, but again, that's something I've been enjoying. Another role is you know, just keeping an eye on past players who could perhaps have fallen on hard times for one reason or another, and just being a bit of support there, going out and seeing them, having a coffee and seeing if we can help them. And there's quite a few, you know, there's you know, rugby league, it's quite an extreme sport played by a certain type of person, and you know, sometimes they don't always meet Civvy Street, you know,
I know exactly what you're saying.
as best they could. So yeah, that's another thing. But I'm very passionate about that, and as I say, been really enjoying the role, and it's it's something can get my teeth into.
Yeah, there's so many areas of life that the rugby league player doesn't understand. We all live in like little bubbles, but you know what it's like when you're in that team environment, and then you get thrust into the outside world. It can be it's a shock, physically, mentally, emotionally, how you interact with other human beings that are around you, like the workplace of the football club versus the workplace of you could almost say, I don't agree with that in the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't. You're exactly right. You can't do things that you can do in a football environment, in an office, and that kind of thing. So yeah, people do struggle. You know, some lads finish their careers with not a great deal of money. You know, with hardly any or no education. So it is really tough. But as I say, there's a lot more help out there now, and fingers crossed we can stop the any issues. We can hopefully get on top of it.
You're also doing some work with Barry McDermott as well. I often see you posting a little bit, which in the suits.
Yeah.
What business do you have with Barry Mack?
Professional debt collectors. No. I'm only joking. But,
yeah. As a joke, not even my joke. It's Barry Mack's joke. Yeah. He does it with work. He doesn't really work on podcasts. So
exactly. So Barry, obviously. I've known Barry as long as I've known any other rugby league player, mainly. So we've known each other the best part of 30 years. So Barry's been working in the FX industry for about 10 years. I've been working in recruitment.
Hang on, what's the FX?
Oh, FX, foreign exchange.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So
that.
Yeah. So we met a lot. He was actually involved at St Helens, actually. You remember when AFEX was on the socks? Yeah. So it was AFEX. It's Corpay now. So Barry Mack's been working for Corpay for 10 years, and it's foreign exchange. You know, if you transfer money from one country to another, if you go through the banks, the rates are higher and you get certain fees. Whereas if it's a proper FX company, it's a lot cheaper, a lot more efficient. So Barry's been working for them, and you go to a meeting. Do you do FX? No. But can you get us any funding? No. So he was just going to these meetings just with one service to sell. I've been working in recruitment, in construction, and I'll go and see these bosses, and they'll say, do you need any lads? Do you need any trades? No. Look, won't mind a bit of money though to finish this project off. So we got together, Barry and I, and said we're probably missing a bit of a trick here. So all these companies need money really. So we've got together, and we've got a number of partners, and basically we're brokers to anyone who needs any funding really. So, but we've both got our full-time role, so it's just in the background there, and it's just part-time at best. But it's something different, and it's all you need is a big client and a bit of repeat business, and it could. This time next year, Rodney, we could be. Yeah.
So your main role, your full-time role now is rugby league cares.
That's right. Yeah. So that's my main role. Yeah. So it's there's a couple of ex-players who work there. Paul Wood, who I played with at Warrington. Franny Stevenson. Franny heads up the transition part of the charity. Bob Bezic, Steve McCormack, the ex-coach. So there's a few familiar faces there. Keith Senior. But it's I've only been involved a few months, but I'm really pleased with how it's going, and it's a pleasure to be part of such a company that's doing some great work.
It is really important as well, and there's a couple of things I know the NRL are looking at implementing to further assist the former players, especially from a medical point of view, that hopefully will be made, that will be publicly announced soon. Because I've always thought that the financial aspect is obviously is different. That's going to change. You can prepare for that. You know, the emotional side of not being in that environment, like I say, we live in a bubble. I guess there's an element of preparation for that. But for me, one of the biggest changes I noticed is it's how you're treated medically, because you don't realize at the time when you're playing, you've got a team of people that's their job to make you healthy and fit. And if you're not fit, they're doing everything they can to get you fit. And then, when you're playing, if you did hurt your shoulder in a game, you don't book the appointment.
No.
You just, Doc, where am I going?
Right,
Jump to the front of the queue. No referral, no follow-up. You're treated like beyond first-class citizens, like gods. Skip the queues. And then all of it, like you've got the doctor's personal mobile phone number. Never had to go make a appointment with your GP. It was just call the doc. Oh, here's your script. Don't worry about it. So hopefully the NRL can get this off the ground. But Moz, you've come here and you spent so many years here living. Do you miss Australia?
I do, and I don't realise how much I miss it until I come back. So, I mean, I'm quite happy living where I am in Worsley, in Salford. But when you do come and see, the lifestyle over here, because it's autumn now, the weather's been absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I know it's what I found difficult at first when I first moved to Sydney was the weather was gorgeous. There was a beach at the end of me road. I had to get out of. I'm not on holiday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm here to do a job. I'm here. So for a month or so, I was party mode, and then because when the sun's out, when you're on holiday, you just I deserve a beer in the sun. So I had to
cool me down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so nip that in the bud. But the lifestyle is fantastic, and it's a very outdoor, very a lot of people keeping fit and that kind of thing. So. Don't worry, the kids have already been at me. Why can't we live here, Dad? And even the wife's been saying, "Should we make a few plans?" So it's now the question to potentially come out. But yeah, I loved it. Loved it living over here. It was a great time. Not just me rugby league career, but my life. I was only a young man. I was 23 till 29. So I did a lot of growing up here, and it was a great place to work and live at the time.
For me, coming to Australia, looking back to the young man that left England and how much Australia changed me, like I don't know if I'd be too happy if that young boy could have seen the person I became in terms of like drinking almond flat whites and what happened to the cups of tea. Did Australia or did living in Sydney change you?
Not a great deal, I don't think. But I was quite fortunate that every year I was out here, bar the last year, the Test series was in the UK. So the season would finish, then I'd go home, and then you'd spend 6 weeks in camp with Great Britain, and then I'd have my 6 weeks off end of season. So I'd have 3 months back in the UK. So I got a chance to see everyone, and so I had the best of both worlds, really. So I'd never got a Aussie accent, which was great. But I'd had enough, I'd have Christmas at home, which was important to me, spending that time with the family. But then I was ready to come back to Aussie, and so even though I was here 6 years, it wasn't 6 years straight, so I don't think I changed a great deal. But the last year was, it worked out great. The last year I was here, it was a tour in Sydney and New Zealand, so it was the 06 tour. So again, played my year here, but then I got a chance to spend a bit more time here with the British boys, and we had that famous win against the Aussies at the SFS.
When you come back now, and obviously you're here in a working capacity and a holiday as well, but you catch up with old teammates. Probably more asking you, is there anyone that you'd look to avoid? And think like, I want to try and go under the radar. Maybe don't want to. Try and rekindle that old like the old Moz that first came in.
Yeah. Well, actually tonight I'm meeting the biggest rat bag was Brian Fletcher, but he was Absolutely brilliant. So I'm catching up with Fletch tonight. We're having a bit of a not a full reunion, but there's about 10 lads from that O2 side who are catching up tonight. So I'm really looking forward to that tonight. But there's no one really, I'd rather avoid. So I'm going with an open mind. If it's on, it's on. But it might just be, because it's a school night, it might just be a quiet one. Yeah. And they're 20 years older now. They might not be as wild as they used to be.
Can I make an educated guess?
yeah, you think it's going to be on?
Yeah. I reckon you're trying to kid yourself.
Right, yeah.
From my observations, Brian Fletcher is the same, and I didn't even know him then, but I'm going to make a guess that he's exactly the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Moz, just speaking about that, and I know we've spoken about this before, but you came over at 23 when it perhaps wasn't as in vogue to come out. It wasn't as popular. It certainly probably wasn't as financially advantageous to come here at that time as well, with the way the dollar was and the salary caps were roughly the same.
Yeah.
What was the real drive to come out here?
Well, I just wanted to test myself really. So I toured Australia with Great Britain in '99, and I just loved the place. And I thought, if you could earn a quid out here and still play the sport you love, and I just thought that'd be a great thing to do. And it was Graham Murray, actually. He coached me at Leeds for a couple of years. He got the head coaching position there at the Roosters, and he just said, "Do you fancy it?" And you're right about the money. Don't get me wrong, I still got paid well, but I did get offered more money by 2 clubs in the UK to stay in the Super League. At that time, Super League had the luxury. They could attract New South Wales players, State of Origin players, and internationals at that point, whereas now, the salary cap stayed the same in England for 20 years, and it's gone that way in Australia. So it's a lot more lucrative that way. But it was, as I say, it was the challenge really. The NRL was regarded as, and still is now, as the toughest, best competition in the world. So I just wanted to test myself out here. And
so that drive to come out here and test yourself was more of a factor than the financial, because that must have been difficult for you to negotiate with yourself and be like, well, I'm at home, I get to paid more money, I don't really have to change, I can still play the Aussies at the end of the year, but there was that real attraction to come out here and do what you actually ended up doing.
It was, yeah, that was by far. I mean, Leeds, I'd had 6 or 7 years there. They offered me good money and also a testimonial, which you can earn a lot of money from testimonials. But again, it was I was regarded as one of the better players in the UK. I wanted to see what it could be like on the world stage over here. So, yeah, that was the reasoning. The first year it didn't go as well as I would have liked. I did get a bit homesick, I'll be honest. You wouldn't think you'd get homesick, living in Sydney, but this is what I did. So I had Ruben Wiki was one of my heroes, and I thought, I can't wait to play against Ruben. So we played Canberra, and this was my mentality at the time. I thought, right, where is it? There he is. I'm just going to run at him as hard as I can. So I got the ball and sprinted at him, and the collision was immense. Anyway, I got up to play the ball as if nothing was wrong. He got at mark as if nothing was wrong. I thought, I'm in a bit of trouble here. Anyhow, the physio come on, he looked at my arm, like it weren't sticking out the bone, but you could tell it was broke. And he said, I think you broke your arm. So, all right, okay. So I come off the pitch and went to Canberra Infirmary, walked in the changing rooms, and Ruben was there in a neck brace. He went, hey, Moz, how are you? So then, but then just nothing else to do. But I got to know him, personally, and an absolutely great guy. And that's the beauty of rugby league. He broke my arm, and he nearly had a broken neck, but we didn't even talk about the incident. We just talked about anything but. But then, as a result, I missed probably about 8 weeks, with a broken arm. And when you're not playing, that's another thing. So I'd played about 10 games at this point, and then when you miss a big chunk of it, and you're a bit homesick anyway, so I didn't feel part of it. And yeah, my form, it was a bit stop-start that first year.
Yeah, it's funny that, I guess, you're being injured and away from home.
Yeah.
Be a difficult combination to deal with, because, you know, the lads are doing their thing and you're in the rehab group. You're not really part of it. And you
plus,
don't have those connections that you would have back at home to sort of go into almost like a different compartment of life.
Yeah, that's right. And also, Graham Murray, who brought me over, he got the sack at the end of the year. So then, because I hadn't had a great year, he got the sack. I didn't know where I stood. So then I was back in the UK, and then Leeds rang me and said, "Look, we know you've not had a great year, but we'd like to have you back at the Rhino." So it was great to have, you know, a backup plan. But I thought I can't come back now. You know, I've not shown everyone what I can do. So I rang Ricky Stewart, and he said, "Look, I can assure you, you're in my plans, Adrian. We'd love to have you back out." And then, thankfully, the following year, that's when it all fit into play. You know, you got used to living away from home, got used to the way my teammates played and all that kind of thing, and it was plain sailing after. That's the year we actually won the comp as well.
You know, Ricky Stewart, when he coached that year, he was only like 35.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he'd only just finished playing. I think he'd finished playing. I think he had a year at Canterbury with the juniors, but then he was only a young man himself. So he'd played with Brad Fittler, you know, for Australia, and he was just one of the boys really, and it was great, you know, because I think that youth and that the fact he'd only finished playing a couple of days before was a big positive, and he'd win or lose, he'd have a drink with us, and it was encouraged. It was a different mindset back then. It was I don't think they celebrate as much as they did back in the day.
Honestly, I didn't realise that about Ricky Stewart until a couple of months ago, and it just I don't think that'll ever happen again, where a 35-year-old recently retired player is coaching a team to not just coaching a team, but coaching them to win a premiership.
Yeah,
it's actually it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. What did those was it the senior players really helping him out, or was it Ricky's attitude, or?
Probably a bit of everything. We had a terrible start to the year. We won our first game. I think we lost 4 or 5 on the bounce after that. So it wasn't all plain sailing. And then there was a couple of injuries throughout the year. And then but we just come good when the important time of the year. We won the last 8 games straight, and then went all the way to the grand final and got that one. But it was certainly, it would have been a learning curve for him because he was very inexperienced. But he was great. You know, out of all the coaches I've had, he's probably my favourite. You know, most had the most fun under him as well. It was a great time.
Yeah, I've spoke to a couple of. We've done a couple of shows from that sort of era. We've covered the Roosters premiership win, the Panthers premiership win, the Bulldogs premiership win in and around then. And one of the things people speak about is the competing forward packs. So you guys at the Roosters, the Foot of the Mountains, the Penrith Panthers. Yeah. You mentioned Ruben Ricky at Canberra. The Bulldogs pack was insane. Yeah. Which put you on the highest level of alert that you came up against and went, we had to be on today? The Broncos pack as well.
The Broncos had virtually a state of origin side back in the day. Probably the Bulldogs, only because the year when we won the comp, they was flying, and then they got caught the salary cap, so they got all the points deducted. Even though we won it, there was always a question mark whether we would have won it if the Bulldogs would have stayed in. We feel we still would have won it. So there was a building rivalry then. So the following year, every time we come up against the Bulldogs, it was knocked up another few notches. The intensity. We played them in the finals. We got the win that year, and then the following year we played them in the grand final. So it set it up perfectly. I think we were winning 13-0 at one point, and then I think 16-13 they pipped us, but it was great rivalry, and two really evenly matched sides, and two sides who like to rip into each other.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now we're on the recording just before Good Friday, just how much that rivalry with the Bulldogs and Souths, and how like it's strange that you look back and you're like, oh, that was me. I was in the mix. I was in the mixer and loved it.
Right, yeah.
Like, is that how you felt? You actually enjoyed that? Almost something bad could happen here, like you break your arm against Ruben Ricky, but that was what ignited something within you.
Yeah, oh, definitely. That's why. That's why I played the game. I just love the confrontation, the physical side. I think you've got to love it to play the sport. But then when you get certain players or certain teams that gets the blood flowing a bit more, it's great. And don't get me wrong, when I see them ripping into each other now on a pitch, I thought, wow, I can't believe I did that. But at the time, you don't think of it like that. You just love it, and before you're going out on the pitch and your heart's going like that, and it's either you or me. It's a great feeling.
It's funny as well. Like there's some players who you'd play against and hate, but if they were on your team,
you'd love it. Yeah.
Like, mate, come on, let's go.
Yeah. Like, well, it was funny. I'd build up anyone I played against. I just had a natural hatred for him anyway. But then, if they signed for your team the following year, they're great lads. I can't believe I used to hate you. But that's just the mentality, really. Just getting yourself in that zone.
Moz, we've seen, or certainly I've seen, our Australian listeners, New Zealand listeners that are engrossed in the NRL. I have seen the growth of it. From your time to my time to the current day. Has it shocked you just how big it is? Because I imagine when you were playing, you would have felt this can't get any bigger.
Yeah.
And I was probably the same. And, like I say, Good Friday happening, like we'd get 30, 40,000 there from memory. But then now they're expecting like 60, 70,000 at Good Friday. Are you surprised at just how big and almost important the NRL is?
I am surprised, but if anyone was ever going to do it, it was the Australian game, because I couldn't believe how big the sport was when I first come. Even though the crowds weren't that big, the clubs weren't particularly rich, but the amount of coverage the game gets and the amount of kids participating in the sport, it was only going to get bigger and bigger. And the luxury that the NRL have got over Super League is the TV deals, and they're just getting bigger and bigger, and quite rightly so. So the more money in the game, the better it can be run, the better the players can be paid, etc. So it's absolutely huge at the moment, which is great. It
is, Moz. It feels like it's only trending upwards as well. Obviously, we both come from the Super League. I get a glimpse of what's going on over there. I think the product is still great. The performance is still great. So if that's still at a level like St Helens, they beat Penrith. Wigan, they beat Penrith. What's going on over there? Because it saddens a lot of people to see, like you say, the trajectory of the NRL is going upwards and upwards, and it's overtaken. Like you could argue when you were first started that with the salary cap, the NRL had to overtake the Super League. Now it's just left them behind, compared to where it's at. What are you seeing over there?
Well, it's a financial issue. So, Eamon McManus, your old chairman at Saints, he did a really interesting interview recently with Johnny Wilkin, and he said, look, unless clubs have got a rich owner who are willing to put a couple of £1 million into the club, you're going to struggle, and not every club's got that luxury. So we're going to find but even the stronger clubs, your St Helens, your Leeds, they've still got to find a lot of money to put in, and it shouldn't be like that. I know he also said 10 years ago, the clubs were getting double the distribution than what they're getting now. So
from the rugby football league.
Yeah. So from the TV deals, you know, what the Super League get. So it's halved in 10 years, and everything, you know, commercially should be doubling it in 10 years, not halving.
Yeah.
So not only is it halved, you know, players' wages are going up, and then you've just got to find more money. So it is a bit of a worry. So I think all the owners have lost a bit of confidence and faith in the Rugby League and the Super League, and I think they want change. You know, people are willing to put the money in, but how long will that last? And when it does stop, what happens to the clubs then?
Well, mate, there's two clubs that you're associated with. One, Salford, which, like, again, of not being able to pay the wage bill. So just on that, like, for me, it perplexes me that Salford get a vote at the table. Like, they have the same level of influence as Wigan, Warrington, Leeds, because this isn't a new story with Salford.
No.
We've been down this road before. Like, what can be done about them?
Well, it's really, really difficult one, because they have punched above the weight the last few years.
Yeah.
You know, they made a grand final, Challenge Cup final, and the way the clubs run, they've not got a rich benefactor, so they do really well, and then they just get a couple of the best players picked off, which other clubs pay a fee for. That helps.
That's their almost business model, isn't it? Like, let's get showcase good players and then sell them.
Yeah, that's right. And Ian McManus said Salford is the best run club in Super League because they lose the least amount of money.
Yes.
So it's a funny way to look at it, but I think they lose between £500,000 and £600,000 per year, but they're still losing. But bigger clubs are losing more money.
Well, they've got richer benefactors. It's almost like a bit of pocket money.
Exactly.
Like a bit of a couple of mil.
Well, the Wigan owner is a billionaire apparently, and he's asked for the salary cap to be scrapped. And all the other clubs said, "What do you mean?" We said, "We're putting a couple of million in already." So we've not all got endless pockets. So
he's just looking at it as like,
a bit of fun for him.
Yes, scrap that. I don't mind Wigan being my toy for 10 million a year. It's a bit of fun. I'll get to see them win.
Exactly. Yeah. So they need more income commercially. You know, TV deal is the big one. So Sky, I don't really know the full negotiations, but it seems to me they've been the only one at the table for the last X amount of years. And at Sky, there's the pie. Soccer gets 98% of it, and then the rest of the sports get a little bit. So what are you laughing at? So the TV.
You're not looking at the whole pie, Jenny. The people are the fruit. You're looking through the keyhole. Oh God! Sorry, Moz. I fucking couldn't keep it together. Sorry, keep going. So Sky, the TV deal from Sky has gone down, and whether that's, don't know whose fault that is, but I think they need other broadcasters at the table, and as you say, that the product's still great. We just need to maximise how much money they get from it. So, for me, that says it's about administration, like and maybe that's part of marketing as well. Like, right. And we were chatting before about you went back to Bradford Bulls in 2005. Did they win it that year?
Yeah, we won it that
year. And since pretty much then, Bradford Bulls went on a downward trajectory. Was it? Obviously, it's easy with the benefit of hindsight. Should people not have looked and gone, hang on, why have this insanely successful club from the early 2000s in the Bradford Bulls that won multiple premierships, developed a lot of the best players in Great Britain, won Challenge Cups? Why have they gone bust? We should, instead of almost celebrating the fact that like other teams get opportunities, the salary cap works, should not people not have looked at that and gone, hang on a minute, that should be the sort of, well, I don't know what the correct phrase is, the red herring or whatever it may be. Like, here's the example, the warning signs. That's the canary in the coal mine, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, oh, definitely, without a doubt. Bradford Bulls at the time were one of the powerhouses of the Super League. At the start of Super League, there was the all the razzmatazz before the games. They shown the other clubs how to put a proper night on. Entertainment before the game, the actual games, and they had a great deal of success. Go back 10 years before that is Widnes as well. Widnes were one of the strongest sides, used to win the championship regular, the Cup Kings they were known as, and Widnes have been languishing in the second division with Bradford for the best part of 20 years. So definitely, yeah. Well, if you see these clubs and you wouldn't have thought by any stretch that Bradford could be in the position they found themselves in. So yeah, it should have been a red light, but everything's good in hindsight, as you say.
Obviously, the NRL, super successful. Talk of them coming in to buy the Super League. Based off what you're seeing, do you think that would be a good idea?
I think it'd be an amazing move. Super League needs a boost, needs a shot in the arm, and the NRL have as you say, that they're on that trajectory. But I'm sure the NRL and the Australian Rugby League people feel it's really important that there's a strong competition in Super League in the UK. So I think they won't do it. They won't just won't be a charity case. They do it financially, where the NRL will get something out of it. And if they can incorporate the TV deal over here and maybe get Sky Games. I'm not sure how it works, the business model, but any injection would be great, and to work with a successful business like the NRL, I think it could be amazing for the Super League.
It could be amazing, but I think it's probably going to need a shake-up.
Yeah.
And it's going to probably upset a lot of people. I don't think we can keep trying to please everyone or keep doing the same things and not expect different results. If the NRL were to, I think there's talk of buying a percentage stake, but having full control of the game, which I think is important. I think rugby league sometimes needs a dictatorship rather than that democracy where
they're all looking after their own interests, aren't they? The clubs.
Governed by, and understandably, governed by self-interest. Yeah. A club like Salford, for example, turkeys aren't going to vote for Christmas, are they? They're not going to vote for a reduced competition in terms of the size of the competition. That'd be stupid. Yeah. They're not going to go from 12 to 10. They're not going to vote on that because they're probably one of the teams that would be
get the flick.
Get the flick. But if the NRL come in and get that full level of control, it's going to require some change. If Valanda's come to you and said, Adrian, I'm going to put you in charge, what changes do you think can help the good of the game to get all those metrics that we look for as a business improving?
Well, I remember when Super League first come to the fore in 95, 96, there was talk of mergers, there was talk of big city clubs. Now there was a massive backlash from the rugby league community, at the likes of Featherstone and, Castleford and Wakefield. They wanted them teams to merge, but it'd be interesting to see how many people voted against that to say, now, would you have gone down that route and merged? So I think it does need a shake-up. You're right. I think Leeds is a big city. I think trying to get more big cities playing the sport, like Salford's my own. Well, it's a city, Salford, but there's talk of them merging, being called Manchester, which it makes sense commercially because then you've got the whole of Manchester to tap into. So maybe getting big cities involved rather than your likes of your small towns. So
it's difficult as well because to try and articulate it to the Australian listeners. Now I know Sydney is a saturated market, we know that, but it's a huge city. But it would almost. So Lee Leopards, for example, and Wigan Warriors, it's almost like Bondi having a team and Clovelly having a team.
Yeah.
They're that close to each other. Oh, and then there's a team at Coogee as well, by the way.
Right, yeah.
When you think of like Wigan Saints, Wigan and Saints are next to each other, but in the middle is Lee. Technically, it's...
Yeah.
And it's so difficult because you don't want to upset these people, and mergers do cause that level of drama, but something needs to happen, otherwise we're not gonna. Because I look at it as it's almost on life support, or it's the Titanic going into the iceberg. But who gets on the life raft to get to safety to figure this shit out? Really, I just, because it saddens me, and I don't know the answers, but just seeing if you had any ideas to put to the...
There was talk of a couple of years ago this having a Super League, 10 teams in the top Super League and a Super League 2, like a B competition, 10 teams in that. So instead of having 12 and 12, it'd be theoretically, it'd be stronger. It'd be a stronger team because there's only 10 teams, and this would be a strong competition as well. It'd be more competitive, and just having one up, one down. So they got rid of that £1 million game, which, you know, that was a bit of a marketing ploy, wasn't it? But that sounded all right because it's sort of whittled down the amount of teams, so you get better players, you know, because at the moment there's not enough players for the amount of clubs there is. I don't think not enough quality players, so you get the better quality of players there, and you know, theoretically could be a tougher competition and a bit more even. But yeah, it's a really tough question, and I you know, I'm with you. It's not great to see sport we both love in the position it is. It's terrible.
It's also as well like a little bit about sporting culture. So obviously over here, no promotion relegation. It's all franchises.
Yeah.
In Europe, promotion and relegation is part of sporting culture. People don't like. I know even in like the Women's Super League, the soccer professional level, because that's a new-ish competition, they're looking at the value of having promotion and relegation because of what it stunts is investment.
Yeah,
it actually stunts investment into the growth of the game or growth of particular clubs, because sport has become a business now and people want a return on investment and they want guarantees. So if you say a club that may be promoted or may be relegated, then people with finances are gonna they're gonna look at that with a level of they're gonna be hesitant to back that because we might go down.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it's happening in that Super League now, in the Women's Super League, in the soccer I'm talking about, where clubs are saying, no, let's go to a franchise model, but no, we want this promotion relegation because we want to be able to win the league one day. And it's I don't know what the answer is.
So I mean, I think Super League tried it for 3 or 4 years, no promotion, no relegation, and I don't think it made a huge amount of difference. But it's alarming how many clubs do go up, have to spend a load of money, then they just go straight back down. So it's a bit flawed, because by the time they find out they are getting promoted, all the best players have gone, and then your recruitment's you struggle a bit. So it has been it's been a tough way to go the last few years. But yeah, it's I don't know.
Do you think there's a chance of, because even as well, I don't know who's running the ship over there. Talk about the Titanic. I don't know who's in control. Like, is it Super League? Is it RFL? Is it Rugby League Commercial? Like,
that's good.
There's almost good question. Different governing bodies, and they all sort of point the finger at one. It's their fault. Or,
yeah, I think it's an accumulation of them all, really. So they all need to be held accountable.
Yeah. And, do you reckon there's a case where, like, instead of the RFL, the Super League, and this is a controversial idea, but almost like that breakaway, like what happened here in the Super League, they break away and form the NRL.
Right.
Like or NRL Europe.
It's not the question. As I say, all the owners are really disillusioned with how the game's being run. Yeah, why should they put?
Yeah.
You know, it's a major international sport. Why should they be putting a couple of million quid in every year? So, if that did happen, I wouldn't be surprised, and could be the best thing that's happened to the sport. You don't know, do you?
It seems such a shame because the season started with so much promise. Going to Vegas, like that, made so many headlines back in England about Wigan and Warrington playing over in the States, and it was supposed to be the springboard for like how good's the Super League, but it sort of dwindled back into stories of Salford. But at the end of the year, a huge announcement: the Ashes are back, Kangaroo Tour. What sort of feelings did that invoke in you that you finally get the England get to play Australia on home soil in a 3-game series?
Fantastic. Growing up, the Ashes series, it was Great Britain then, but that was the be-all and end-all as far as I was concerned. Every 2 years it was guaranteed it'd either be down under or it'd be on British shores. And some of my fondest memories are of them Ashes series, and I can't believe it's been 20 odd years since the last one. I know we've played the Aussies in one-off test matches, but delighted is a 3-game series on all in iconic stadiums as well. Wembley, the new Everton ground, and Headingley. So can't wait. Yeah, really can't. And England have been going about the business all right. You know, they beat Samoa and Tonga in the both series last couple of years. But you want to play against the best. You want to play against the Aussies, and I am delighted. Can't wait for the end of the year. I think it's going to be great. And I think Headingley's sold out. I think Everton's near to being sold out. So then if you want to go, you're going to have to buy tickets to Wembley. If we get all 3 venues sold out, that would be such a boost and a shot in the arm for the Super League.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And Headingley was always going to sell out.
Yeah.
Everton's new ground, like obviously it's great location, new stadium, that always gets people interested. And Wembley, it's always that. I can remember watching as a kid that first test, Wembley. Like that was always the thing to kick this thing off. For England to win, what do they have over the Aussies? Because we know the level of the competition here with Origin and NRL, but what can England do to get the win?
Well, I think the home advantage, what we've mentioned, and get the crowds behind them. I think that's could be a massive factor for the English. Look, they're going to start as underdogs, the English, but it's important to keep the best 17 players fit as well, because what I found throughout the years, 1 to 17, we could compete with anyone in the world. You take 2 or 3 players out of that, you struggle, whereas the Aussies have got the luxury of being able to field 3 or 4 test quality sides. So we need to keep all the players fit, get the crowd behind you, and who knows what can happen. It could be could be absolutely amazing. But we have got great record at Wembley. You know, Great Britain always seem to do well in that first test. So you need to just get off to a good start, and then who knows what can happen.
Get off to a good start, obviously, in a Kangaroos game. Try and keep 13 on the field. What do you think when you see that? Do you think, I should have pulled back? It just was what it was? Or?
It was, well, been asked this question a few times since the Ashes has been announced, but at that stage of my career, that's how I played. I was ultra aggressive, and I'd just been playing in Australia, and I just felt that year in particular, I just felt like the man, you know, the alpha forward on the planet, and I'd battered these Aussies all year, and I just wanted to show my British teammates, this is how to handle these Aussies. And if you look on the video, I'm about 10 metres in front of everyone else. I wanted to put the biggest shot on I've ever put in my life, and you know, don't get me wrong, I get fired up for games anyway, but particularly test matches, and particularly against the Aussies. And we just sang the national anthem, and I was a bit too giddy, and we all know what happened. But it was I've got no problems with a send off, but if he'd have put on report and said, "But we'll deal with that after," I wouldn't have been bothered about that either. But it was a pretty bad one. But he did manage to get up and play the full game.
Were you surprised that it just happened and then it just went? Everyone stopped, because usually when something like that happens, people. It's a 13-on-13 brawl. Were you almost surprised that it was?
To be fair, it happened that fast. I knew there was a contact. I didn't realise how big the contact was. And I don't think the ref saw it, I'll be honest. I don't think Ganson saw it, because he didn't blow up straight away. And you know, when he was down, I think he got someone in his ear saying, "Oh, there's been a bit of contact there." But so I was just waiting for him to play the ball. I thought, well, I might have got away with this one. And then when he did slow it down on the when they're showing it on the screen, I thought, oh, might be in a bit of trouble here. But remember, Terry Newton was next to me. He said, "Don't go off, Moz." He did as if he got the last say. "Don't go off. It's at the start of the game." I said, "The ref just sent me off, Terry."
Oh, he told you to just stay on.
He just told me to stay on. I said, "No, don't go off." I said, "No, all right, okay, yeah, all right, Tez."
Words of wisdom. You know, when you were out here, did you feel you got treated differently because you were an Englishman? Like, did you have I know you had your black book, but do you think people put a target on you and wanted to send you home with your tail between your legs?
Well, one of the first things, I knew the press were a big deal over here. So when I first got here, they somehow managed to phone the Rugby League headquarters and got my judiciary, you know, my list of indiscretions, and they printed it in the paper. This is what the Roosters have signed, and all the send-offs and all this. And I thought, wow, it's a bit full on. And Graham Murray did actually warn me. He just says, look, be wary of the press. He said they're full on over here. And so, but I don't think the NRL, you know, the judiciary had an issue with me. I had an issue with myself and the way I played the game. So I don't think I was unfairly treated. I felt there was a few stories in the press like that, you know, was a bit uncalled for, really. So, but no, I think if you're playing well, I mean, I weren't sent off every week, but I think they realised that I could play, and you know, there was a bit of honesty there. So I think once they realise you're not a joker and you're not really dirty, so they did leave us alone to a degree, yeah.
Did you have any run-in with any press people at all?
No, not really. But I mean, I will say, like, I think the Roosters were probably the most scrutinised club in terms of, you know, it's regarded as a bit of a party area, you know, the eastern suburbs. So you couldn't really go out and get up to mischief without it finding the press, really. So there's a couple of incidents, you know, you can get away with what you want in the UK. You know, there's not hardly any interest at all. But you go out and you'd have a bit of a push and shove or whatever it was, and it'd always find a way to make the press.
Did you have anything like off field?
Yeah, but nothing major. So no. So I was quite smart in where I chose to have a drink, and yeah, I mean the incidents were few and far between, but when it did rear its ugly head, not just me but my teammates, it would always be in the path. Oh, they got hold of that story. It was but they have their way. So I just found that very different to the UK, and it was a bit of a pain in the arse, really.
Obviously you played with a certain uncompromising style that was close to the line. I think if I look at Roosters over the years, they've always embraced that character. Yourself, Jared, when I hear Trent Robinson speak about Jared and his rap sheet, it was almost encouraged, and it's the same now with Spencer Leniu. I feel like the Roosters have an appreciation that this game is on a line, right, and sometimes you're going to bring players in that go over it, but that's almost needed.
Yeah, well, it was getting to the point where I was getting just doing a minor offence, and I was getting like 3 games because the
carryovers.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was really getting on my nerves, and I thought, I don't know what the club or the coach thinks about this. And I went to see Ricky Stewart, and I said, I'm going to change the way I play the game. And he looked at me and he said, you dare? I said, why? And he just said, look, you've got an intimidation factor that not many players have. He said, why would I want you to stifle that? So he just said, I want you to carry on playing the way you are. So I had the green light then to just do what I wanted, Jammer. But Sticky was great. He was very loyal. He'd always stick up for his players. And that was another example. You know, every time I did get fortunately suspended, it was just like, yep, that's just... We'll deal with it, that kind of thing. So was
there any
great.
Fines back then, or was it just all matches?
Just all matches, yeah. So 27 games I got banned for in 6 years. So it was like a full season really. But I'd like to think it added on to my longevity. So I got another year out of it playing in the UK.
But did Ricky Stewart actually say that you dare?
Yeah. He just he said he just said. Want you to carry on doing what you're doing, which was great.
Fair play. The game now obviously is changing. There's an element of frustration when I watch it with what is high contact, what isn't. Players staying down. What do you make of the current environment when it comes to high tackles and almost even spending 10 minutes in the bin? Because am I right in thinking in your era, like the 10 in the bin was fair? And even I know thinking back to when I was playing, and ours crossed over a bit, but I can't remember players getting put in the bin for a high tackle.
No, it was for if you fisticuffs, if it comes to a fight, punch would be a sin bin.
And the high tackle would almost be would deal with that. In the week,
just put on report. Yeah. Right. If it was a bad one, you'd get sent off. If it was just borderline, they'd just put on report. So I think in the Super League, I don't watch a great deal of NRL, but I can only talk about the Super League. It was last year or the year before, it was too far. Every game there was like 3 or 4 sin bins, a couple of sending offs. It was like some games are 12v11, and you know, if you get someone sent off, it has a huge effect on the game, and the outcome of the games were being affected. And about half the year, I think they saw a bit of common sense, but it was hard throughout the year to change what they've been doing at the start of the year. You can't just, so they had to wait till the end of the year, and this year it's a lot more sensible. You know, they're still getting penalised and that kind of thing, but the red and the yellow cards are less frequent than they were.
But we're just even on going back to the conversation about the governance of the game. Like, remember they did the announcement around the tackle height was now going to be the armpit or the nipple, and they did that whole video around what's going to be a penalty, what's going to be a sin bin, and what's not. And then they didn't end up putting it into practice anyway.
No.
They got all that pushback, and then they bailed on it, which, I mean, I don't think anyone was losing any sleep over.
No.
Where are you at with things like player safety? And obviously we know there's a consequence to playing our game, but there's an element of accepted risk and attracted risk that brings certain people to our game, not just to play but also to watch.
But that's what attracted me to the sport, the physical side of it. And there's a group of ex-players in the UK trying to sue the sport, you know, saying they weren't looked after and that kind of thing. I think it's a load of bullshit, really. You know exactly what you're getting when you play rugby league. You know you're going to have physical issues when you finish any level, not just professional. That's the attraction, and you know what you're signing up for. And I think these guys, to try and, you know, fill on our times and they want handout, I think it stinks, really. Another bugbear is you mentioned before the players staying down. You know, I know I don't know whether the coaches encourage him to, because you could get tackled and no one sees it, referee don't see it, but then if you stay down, draws attention to it, bang, they get a penalty. But our sport's not about staying down. Other sports are, but I hope really hope the coaches aren't encouraging that. But there is a trend, and you can see the positives. But I'm not a fan of that whatsoever.
Yeah, I see it sometimes where if a team needs a penalty to draw or to win, like the 2 points, and they feel any sort of contact, they just go, I'm just going to stay down here because I'll get the
even if you don't get a penalty, you still get.
I'll stay down. But, the former player one is a funny one because I wonder how much people actually thought about what you were doing, but you can't plead. I don't think you can plead ignorance. I knew what I was getting into. Or if people didn't, maybe they didn't want to know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you were an alien and you came down and you watched the game of rugby league, and you asked that alien, like, do you think this is good or bad for their long-term health? Well, yeah, of course you're going to pay the price later on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's lost on a few.
Yeah.
Moz, we'll just finish up with a few very quick questions. Can I ask you to name 3 geniuses, please?
Is this from the office, Jammer? Milligan, Sessions, Cleese.
Not Newton or Einstein. And if I could offer you like a dinner with 3 guests, living or dead, who would they be?
Rory Bremner. Are they serious questions? Or are you just
No.
Big offer. So okay, Bob Dylan, and big hero of mine. I love Bob Dylan. Put me on the spot now, mate. Lost my dad 18 months ago. I'd have my dad there. He liked to feed and a drink. Who else? Jesus Christ.
I'd probably go Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, and Rory Bremner, because get a bit heavy with them too.
That's right.
Rory probably do impressions of him and me. That'll finish us up, Moz. I did have something about why you came here to Australia, and that your life was not in the 4 walls at Salford or Leeds, and you're kind of like Jesus in a way. You're going to spread the word. But we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Moz. Thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.